All rise. Vous vous levez. The International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia is now in session. L'audience du Tribunal Pénal International pour l'ex-Yougoslavie est ouverte. Please be seated.
Good afternoon, everyone. Would the registrar please call the case?
Good afternoon, Your Honors. This is case IT 95-5/18-R77.1, the prosecutor versus Berko Zečević.
Thank you, Madam Registrar. I am Judge Ogon Kwan, presiding judge of the Trial Chamber 3, and have been designated to hear this initial appearance of Professor Dr. Zečević. First of all, I would like to make it sure that Dr. Zečević is following the proceedings in a language which he understands. Dr. Zečević, are you receiving the interpretation into your own language?
Microphone, please.
Would you turn on the, press the microphone, turn on the microphone.
Uvaženi sudija.
Your Honor, Judge Kwan, I receive a normal audio feed.
Thank you, Dr. Zečević. It is my understanding that you are having back pain and spine-related conditions. So I don't mind you stand up from time to time whenever necessary.
Hvala vam najljepša.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you. I would now like the counsel appearing for Dr. Zečević to introduce himself.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. On behalf of Dr. Zečević, Genel Metro, counsel, and Jesenka Reshidović as legal assistant.
Thank you, Mr. Metro. In light of some motions which we received from you this afternoon, Mr. Metro, I asked for the prosecution to be represented at this hearing, although that would not normally be the case. So could the prosecution please introduce yourself for the record?
Thank you, Mr. President. Alan Teager, Fergal Gaynor, and Ian Reed appear for the prosecution.
Thank you, Mr. Teager. Now, Dr. Zečević, while the chamber has read the motions filed by your defense counsel this afternoon, and we'll get to that shortly, I first have to go through certain formalities. So I'd like you to state your full name and date and place of your birth for the record, please.
Berko Zečević, university professor in Sarajevo, born on the 13th of December 1949 in Srebrenica, Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Thank you, Professor. It is my understanding that you were transferred to the United Nations detention unit in The Hague yesterday. Can I take it that your family is aware of that transfer?
Omogućeno mi je da obavim.
I was able to speak with them on the phone.
Thank you. And I would like to check that you have received a copy of the order in lieu of indictment dated 4th of February 2011 in your own language, and that you have understood its content.
Materijal sam dobio i
I have received all material and I have fully understood what is written there.
Now you are represented here today by Mr. Metro. Are you satisfied with your representation here today?
izvanredno sam zadovoljan.
I'm more than satisfied.
Thank you. Please make yourself comfortable and be seated.
Hvala vam.
Thank you.
Before we proceed any further, I would like to deal with the motion which was filed confidentially by the Defense Counsel. But before we go further, can I ask the reason why the motion was filed confidentially? If necessary, we can go into private session.
I don't think it's necessary, Your Honor. I'm grateful for the question. We've indicated to the prosecution we haven't received the record of these proceedings and weren't able to determine exactly which filings remain confidential and which were not. We'd be more than happy to file a public version of all three filings as soon as we are able to ascertain which of the filings remain confidential.
Thank you. Then there's no problem. We discuss the matter in public session, including the motion for withdrawal of the order in lieu of indictment.
There is none, Your Honor.
Then, very well. Dr. Zečević, I understand from this motion that you are willing to testify in the Karadzic case. Is that correct, Professor?
I have never refused to testify in court. My reaction was prompted by the prosecution and how they treated me, even though they were aware of my limitations. Given that I had a spine surgery and that my ability to sit and to stand is extremely limited, I made a proposal to the prosecution reflecting not my wishes, but reflecting the result of my previous work with students. And so far, I have been able to work with students for 2 or 3 lessons only, after which time I lose feeling in my toes on both feet. Following such lessons, I have to lie down for 10 hours in order to regain feeling in my toes. It is certainly not appropriate for me to tell the prosecution for how long I can testify, but I made a proposal to sit twice for 45 hours, but not longer than that, totaling 180. The prosecution did not accept this proposal of mine, and this proposal was given completely honestly, without any bad intention on my part. I am somebody who has been cooperating with the OTP for the past 16 years. I provided hundreds and hundreds of hours of support to the OTP. I wrote hundreds of pages of various reports for them. Finally, I came to the conclusion that any further cooperation with the OTP would result in me losing my integrity as a person, losing my freedom. Therefore, my actions were an attempt on my part to regain my integrity and to regain my freedom. Later on, I became aware that they misinterpreted my requests and that it looked as though I did not want to help the court, and that my actions were aimed against the court, which had never occurred to me. It had never occurred to me to bring into question the high esteem that I have for this court. Therefore, I'm prepared to testify. I would kindly ask you to take into account several basic facts when making your ruling as to the length of my testimony. I hope you will be able to take all elements into account. Today, as we set out to come to this building, I traveled in a car for 20 minutes in very cramped conditions that are bad for my health. I was in the cell here. I was handcuffed both here and in Sarajevo. And I will be forced to wait for transport once my testimony begins as well. So if I were to testify for 3 to 4 hours each day, that means that there will be additional 3 to 4 hours of physically limiting circumstances that would be bad for my health. I have to tell you that as a professor who teaches, I have to be in good physical shape to be able to come to teach my students. I don't know that there are any cases where professors come on stretchers to teach and to work. By doing what I did, I undertook something that was aimed at ensuring the livelihood of my family. As a professor, as an active professor, I'm quite capable of giving very precise and prompt answers to any questions that are put to me. As an expert, I will provide answers to you, to the OTP, to the defense. I have prepared various presentations that are quite illustrative in explaining the facts that are relevant to you. But please bear in mind that once I leave this tribunal, I have to work in order to provide livelihood for my family and for myself, and that I also need to be able to walk in order to do that.